Video, I'm going to be showing how I did this really pretty brick design with fall leaves on top of it. This design was actually inspired by this picture I took. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to start off by stamping, I believe, 2 of these leaf images on camera, and off camera I did, I think, 3, or that could be reversed. I will do my best to link everything that I am using in the description box below. For some reason, I tend to have a hard time finding stamping plates that I used. So I will do my best to find it and link it if I can. When it comes down to images like this, I always tend to make more of these images than I think I'm going to need, because you actually never know how many you're going to need, because you never know depending on your nail length, anything like that. So I think it's easier just to make more and then just go from there. If you need to make more, you can, or you may have enough. So one thing I like to think about with reverse stamping is just a really kind of like an interesting way of saying coloring in a coloring book. The outline is obviously the stamp, and then the crayon would be the nail polish. You can do this with a detail brush, you can do this with a dotting tool, you can do this with a toothpick. I prefer to use a fine dotting tool, but it's completely up to you. You can even use the brush of the bottle depending on the size of the image you are using. Also, when it comes to reverse stamping the leaves like this, don't worry about, colors bleeding together. Don't worry about the leaves looking perfect, because this was actually inspired by garland and the colors of the leaves in the fall time, because, no two leaves look alike. Alright, so for the brick background, I'm going to start off by drawing the brick design. And drawing the brick design is actually very, very easy to do. All you need to do is make 2 lines going across your nail. And then you make 1 line from the cuticle to the first line. And you just do the same thing. Now, it's up to you on how many bricks you want to have per nail. I like to do what looks like a fireplace design, in my opinion. But that's just what looks best for me. But you can do whatever pattern you want. And obviously you can, if your nails are longer than mine, you can obviously do way more bricks than I did. And keep in mind that depending on where you put the leaves on your nails once they're dry, if there's any imperfection in your lines, you can always use the leaves to cover those imperfections up, which I actually did end up doing, and that works really, really well. So I actually used a thin detail brush to do this, and it is easier to do a thin detail brush. But the good thing about this is that it's okay if it's a little uneven, because sometimes when you look at like the cement, whatever is holding the bricks up, sometimes that can be a little bit uneven. All the colors that I am using in this design were basically the colors that I saw in that picture that I took. And I thought that was really, really cool, so I just went with that design. And I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. Again, you can do the brick pattern any way you want. It's completely up to you. And then I'm going to be showing a mistake that I made in a little bit. So I actually did this design a few days before I did this video, and I'm calling it the roughed draft nail, where I did it originally and then I just tweaked it and it came up with this one, and I was really happy with the way this turned out. So I'm going to take a very thin layer of top coat. I just use the top coat very thinly because you want to somewhat seal in the lines, but you also want to add like a sticky background for the fall leaves to lay on. Okay, so for the ring finger, this is where I kind of messed up. So actually this is the middle finger. Alright, so this is the ring finger, and this is where I messed up. I put too much of a gap between the first and second leaf, so I did have to fix that. And I'm just adding the leaves back on. This time I was much happier with the way that this looks, and again, this is really just trial and error. And then I just cleaned up behind the scenes and I top coated. Now, I was originally done with the design here, but I decided that I wanted to see how this design would look when it was matte. And I really liked it looking matte. I mean, I'm not a person that likes matte finishes, but this was really, really pretty in my opinion, and it's still currently matte. And these are the polishes that I am using. Again, I will have everything linked down in the description box if I can find everything I was using. And that is all I did for this design.